Happy Friday, everyone. Another power hour, another Tesla power hour, but today's a special one because I'm joined by Sawyer Merritt. You probably recognize his lovely face from Twitter, if not maybe his YouTube channel. But he's kind of the rock that gives the Tesla community all of the breaking news, all of the insights that we see, really like a lot, way before a lot of the mainstream media actually picks up on it. And I see a lot of people in the chat are excited as well. But first of all, welcome Sawyer to our channel and our Friday power hour stream.
Thanks for having me.
We've got a lot to talk about. But before we get into that, I'd love to just get kind of some insight from you, because we were talking before this and how like you tweet so late at night, you tweet so early in the morning. You're obviously paying for really awesome data that you share publicly for everyone on Twitter and also super followers and whatnot. What's the process like? How do you do that? And like, how do you like have the mental fortitude to pretty much all day, as soon as breaking news hits, get on it within like a minute or two? Like, I don't see anyone ever beat you to it.
Yeah, it took a couple of years to sort of find enough like separate sources because I don't make enough money to be able to afford a Bloomberg terminal, which is like $25,000-$30,000 a year. So I do it for like Street Insider, Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, and then I just have notifications on for a lot of stuff. I usually just check like websites all the time. And actually, a lot of followers now, like they know to DM me stories if they ever see them, which helps a lot. So I'm just always scanning.
Respect, mad respect. By the way, everyone in the chat, let's give Sawyer a very warm welcome to the channel today, and let me know where you guys are tuning in from. City, state, country. Not the best of stock market days, just in case anyone's living under a rock today. I'll share my Weeble here. Tesla down 5.85%, but fear not, it's just not a Tesla story. NASDAQ is down 3.6% as we sit here. What are your thoughts on the general stock market and the crapshoot that it is? Number one, but also, I guess, the jobs report that came out a little bit stronger than expected today.
Yeah, Tesla's always been super volatile, and we were super lucky with how incredible the growth was on the way up with the stock. But of course, it can just fall just as quick like a rock, and it often does. And there's so many sort of, Gary Black likes to call them overhangs. I don't know if I describe them as that, but there's still a lot of those around. Of course, the S&P was upgraded, so that's one lifted, I guess you could say. Macro is just it's hitting everything, right? So, it's until we know that the Fed's going to stop raising interest rates, it's probably going to still be difficult for stocks to sort of catch a break here. So Tesla included.
And actually, you kind of touched on that. I'd love to get your thoughts on Tesla investment grade. We know finally it's 2 notches into investment grade from the S&P as of yesterday. To me, the timing was a little bit weird. Like Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific. Like it was weird that it happened during market hours. Maybe that's just my ignorance. I thought it would have been like the classic after hours Friday, an hour or two after close, and then everyone has like the weekend to digest. What are your thoughts on it as a whole, and do you think it matters at all here?
Yeah, actually, most S&P upgrade like announcements usually come actually during market hours. I've found at least the past couple have. But I guess let me start by saying that while this rating upgrade is like great news, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really change anything for like Tesla the company. But the rating agencies have maintained the sort of junk rating for Tesla like for a long time. So I think the rating upgrade was quite overdue. I think a lot of people would say. But we still have Moody's left to upgrade, but Tesla's like the most credit-worthy automaker. It has like stronger financials than any other automaker on earth, and even better than some like mega cap tech companies, which is pretty incredible. I mean, like Tesla has an incredible cash to debt ratio. It would take them less than 4 months, I think, of cash flow just from operations to reimburse all their debt, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, very little.
And that. It's just been upgraded, I think, BBB, right? Investment grade. Yeah. So some funds that were barred from investing in Tesla due to it being junk rated might now buy it. It's sort of unclear how much. Alexandra Murray, people should go Tesla Boomer Mama on Twitter. She made a good point in that, while it's difficult to quantify these sort of investors, approximations suggest that maybe like 10 trillion of assets under management might be impacted by this upgrade to Tesla to investment grade. I don't think people should expect this to play out at all like sort of the S&P inclusion did, where things were more like defined, timelines were in place, and there was more forced buying. There isn't necessarily forced buying here, but this will probably be a more drawn out process taking place over several months. But the timing of the upgrade itself is like pretty interesting because from the
Hmm.
time we heard the S&P wanted to see a few things change to now, there were like
Right.
were no financial statements, new ones that came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, like only a single production and delivery report, I think. So some are
Yeah.
saying maybe this suggests like the S&P got an early look at the Q3 earnings results. So we'll see.
Yeah, I did hear that. Yes, and I'll pull up the Gary Black tweet here in a second. It's like it. Yeah, I mean, at this point, like what other than the Thursday at 10 a.m., which I guess you're saying like is kind of normal. Fine, let's take that. But why not wait until after earnings and see the report? Like at this point, if you're them, what is the motivation to release this prior to earnings? And where I guess we're going with that, and like the hypothesis, maybe, and take this with a grain of salt, of course, is like, okay, well, if they're going to be issuing some sort of debt, then obviously they would have already been seeing all the details behind everything and all the metrics that they needed to see. And why would they be issuing debt? Obviously, Tesla doesn't need any. Maybe it's for a buyback. And again, rose-colored glasses here. Tesla bulls talking, and everyone tries to make the best of any situation, which I get. But I mean, it is interesting to at least have as a theory, although albeit probably a low percentage chance of it happening.
Yeah, I don't see them raising any money. I don't think it really makes any sense to. Some people are speculating there could be a buyout maybe announced in Q4. I think there are reasons to do it. I think there are reasons not to do it. I go back and forth on which side I want. I could see them doing a stock buyback, but maybe it doesn't make too much sense on the other hand. Some people are suggesting, like I said, that the S&P did get an early look at Q3 earnings, which I could see that happening. And maybe Tesla was indicating to them that maybe they'll do some sort of stock buyback. So they want the better credit ratings to be able to like have a lower rate on that debt. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess long term it doesn't really make a difference. I had Mayor Talker on yesterday, and he was saying like the debt market already rates Tesla investment grade for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
But the classification, I guess if you're a portfolio manager, and Gary says he knows people like this specifically that have these kind of arbitrary, if you want to call it rules, not really arbitrary, but arbitrary rules like, look, if something's rated non-investment grade, as a fund, we're just not touching it. And there's no way for us to know how many of those tracking funds or how many of those funds there may be. But also, we don't know just because now Tesla qualifies that they're going to want to buy it, given everything that I guess that's happening here with Twitter, which is kind of our next segue here. Where are you at with this Twitter thing? Because if just when it was over, it felt like it started again. I'm just so, I don't know what's the word, apathetic maybe to the whole thing. Like I'm not even bothering keeping up with every little thing because I know it's going to change it in 30 more minutes. Like, where is this thing for you, and how do you think this ends?
I think despite all the drama, I do support Elon trying to buy Twitter. I think Twitter is such a valuable tool, but has been completely mismanaged. It's the worst platform for monetization, both from like Twitter, the company's perspective, but also like content creators' perspective. For example, my tweets just in the last 2.5 years have been seen about a total of about 2 billion times. Crazy. Now, if I got that kind of viewership on YouTube, for example, you're looking at probably millions of dollars in revenue, but I didn't make anything doing that. So, but instead, I only make probably a few $100s on super followers, I think. So there's just so much opportunity to unlock value there. I think Elon is going to try to sort of reduce the reliance on the ad business. And there was a sort of New York Times article leaked in July of some of his ideas for the from the pitch slide deck that he showed to bankers. I mean, some of the bullet points: quintuple revenue to about 26 billion by 2028, create a $10 billion subscription business with 69 million users of Twitter Blue by 2025. He wants to create a payments business. He wants to hire 3,600 employees after shedding, hundreds of jobs, of course, getting rid of the AXS. And then, of course, he wants to raise cash flow, potentially just 9.4 billion. And so I think he has a lot of different plans, and including, I think he has a subscript, like what's going to be called an X subscription. I don't know what that'll entail. It's sort of a mystery at this point, but I think that'll probably be one of the biggest cash drivers for Twitter under Elon's ownership.
Yeah, I guess walk me through the monetization model there, because YouTube makes sense to me. I even spend a lot of money with Google ads for multiple businesses and stuff. But with Twitter, their ad service sucks. Like I don't know anyone that's running profitable ads on Twitter. If they run ads on Twitter, it's probably for a hot second and then they just forget about it. And then you got those big brands that really just want to throw around money. and so they'll spend money on Twitter. How does the monetization work? Because I know a lot of people that would probably not use Twitter if it was just subscription based and they have to pay for it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they want Twitter to be free, just like every other social media platform. But I think people would be willing to pay for a monthly subscription if there were like valuable features there. Right now, Twitter Blue doesn't really have much. The edit button just came out, which is great.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think, yeah, if you're an advertiser, you're looking at all the different social media companies. Twitter's not going to be in the top of your list for ads, right? Because it's really hard to target certain individuals on there, I think, more than other companies, especially with Apple's new targeting thing.
iOS 14.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the engagement just isn't as good on Twitter, I would find. At least that's what I found.
Lots of bots too. Like, man, I don't know how many bots you have to hide
Yeah.
from your replies.
And conversion, I think, is much worse than it is on, let's say, like a Facebook ad or a YouTube ad, I would imagine. So I think Twitter, like, they just don't get much ad business. So I think Elon recognizes there's a lot of value to unlock with subscriptions, with potentially payment processing schemes. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does. I totally support it. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, how do you think this ends? Do you think this ends within a week from us talking today? Do you think it drags into November with the trial? What are your thoughts, if you had to guess?
Yeah, I think early next week they'll sort of come to some sort of resolution. Elon's lawyers are saying that the deal will take until October 28th to close. I think that has something to do with the banks or whatever. But I'm thinking like early to mid next week they'll figure out something, hopefully.
And currently, as we talk, there is a Tesla blackout period for shareholders and or employees and executives at the company. Does Elon need to sell anymore? Can you clear that up for people that are wondering left, right, and center if Elon is selling today, if he's selling Monday? Obviously, he's not sold Monday, even though we had a 10% drawdown. Like, does Elon need to sell anymore? Does he need to bring up any more cash to his deal from this point forward?
Yeah, I should be clear. I'm not a financial analyst by any means or an expert, so I would defer you to Gary Black on that. But I think there is a few more $1 billion that Elon needs potentially. There are a few ways he could get that. He could get that from selling Tesla stock, of course, but he's sort of barred from doing that unless he filed a 10b5-1 trading plan a couple of weeks ago before the blackout period. The blackout period ends once they announce Q3 earnings. Tesla does, that is, on October 19th. The other route is he could get more equity financing from either current partners that he's partnered with on the whole list. I think it's 7.1 that he's gotten so far. It'll be tougher in this market, but Elon's Elon. So I think he's really good at selling his vision. So he could figure it out.
Yeah, totally fair. Let's talk about something a little bit more, I guess, positive. You had an update out today, and I'll refresh this so everyone can see the video. There's the Twitter glitch again. Let's talk about Cybertruck update. What are you hearing with the Cybertruck, and what good news fundamentally can we talk about with Tesla?
Well, I mean, I don't really hear anything these days because I stopped leaking 6 months ago. So I never announced that formally. It was just a personal decision. But it's going to be a game-changing product. This is good news that we're seeing this from Hydra. That means that they're pressing forward with the development of it. I would imagine that if that GigaPress is already on its way to Texas, if not already there, so we should probably see maybe it start to make giga castings in the next couple of months. I would imagine maybe Q1 of next year. I think it's awesome.
It's and again, this is in, I think you clarified this below. This is in Italy or shot in Italy, so it has to be disassembled and then brought to Austin. But you're saying that portions of it might already be.
Yeah. It weighs so much. It takes a lot of shipping containers to fully pack that thing. And if you scroll through the video, you'll see a European truck. That's sort of the dead giveaway that it's in Italy. But I also recognized the facility.
Yeah, it's crazy. And Cybertruck is I often say this a lot. Cybertruck is different than just the Model Y release or something because it opens up a new segment of the market. People that today may crap on Tesla are gonna still want to drive the Cybertruck. There's a group of people that I think about in my life that if whenever I talk about EVs, it doesn't matter if it's a Model 3, Y, X, S, they probably don't want to drive it today, but I almost guarantee it. If to that person I brought the Cybertruck to, they'd be like, okay, I'll get in and I want to see what this hype is all about. It's like it's a driving advertising machine. So are you on board with Q1 deliveries, Q2 deliveries? I'm personally setting the bar to at fall of next year is kind of, my pessimistic side at least.
Yeah, I would say Q3, Q4 probably next year. That's not based on any inside knowledge. That's just
Right.
the reality of how things go with Tesla.
And I guess like Tesla Semi kind of fits into this as well because we got some news from Elon about, well, look, the Semi's on track for delivery December 1st of this year. First of all, why even announce that date, right? I'm not sure, and I guess maybe you can reason better than I, but it just seems like why announce that date? Why not just let it come and then announcement deliveries happen? Why announce it, number one, but also how excited are you to finally see Tesla Semis on the road?
Yeah, I think he probably just announced it to like, let everyone know that this is actually coming. It's a real product, maybe to help out and Tesla investors in the market a little bit. Although clearly it's had no impact today, but I think the Semi will be such a game changing product. I mean, I can't believe it was unveiled 5 years ago. By the
Yeah,
time it comes out, like on the first, it'll be 5 years and 15 days since it
yeah,
was officially unveiled. But we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings, like just
mm,
in the first few years from like no diesel, like less maintenance. We're talking about, less than 2 kilowatt hours per mile of energy consumption, charging to 70% in 30 minutes via the mega chargers.
yeah.
So I think it'll be a much less taxing experience too for the driver, improving quality of life.
Mm.
Uh, so yeah, I'm really curious to see what the price is. We haven't really gotten any indication on that, and the FSD price. I'm curious what that'll be.
Yeah, I mean, trucking is such a hard job, right? Like, I think it's so underappreciated, and it's like without truckers, like we quite literally are like our daily lives would be negatively affected massively. Like, we wouldn't have any of the stuff around us. But FSD is interesting as well. Even actually, funny enough, Mayor was also talking about FSD and he was saying if Tesla believes that they're closer to FSD than we think, then they would want to release the Semi before the Cybertruck because it would have a greater marginal effect on the commercialization of FSD and the benefits of lives with,
Yeah,
let's say, like even without a convoy system for now. Do you think? Do you, has anyone tested FSD on a Semi before?
I'm not
Because I
sure.
don't.
I
Yeah.
mean, they've been testing it for half a decade. I would imagine they absolutely would have. I think we have been seeing so many stories in recent years of shortage of truck drivers. So whenever
Mm,
they can get sort of FSD going and platooning going,
mhm.
that's really going to help out the industry. I think if these things can drive themselves and they don't have to worry about shortages.
Yeah. Especially because like already FSD works really well on the highway,
Yeah,
but the problem really with that is I'm just imagining like driving a Semi. You see those Semi truck drivers that have to like like make these huge like swerving turns because they're just so
yeah,
big. Like I
yeah.
wonder how FSD would program that in. How would it'd have to very much drive differently than it does today, though.
Yeah, I think they can just sort of plug in certain things into the network, and then they can just sort of figure that out. Of course, the Semi is much lower volume, and I
Hmm.
think usually mostly the areas they go through are like on highways and main roads, which I think are less difficult to figure out than like a main city like intersection, which they'll still have to go through, of course, but they're more
That's
so
true.
like highway vehicles.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's
it'll be
true.
interesting to see.
Yeah. Do you see that being do you see that being a substantial portion of Tesla's bottom line moving forward within the next couple of years or just
No,
still small?
No, I think this will like still be a game-changing product, but it won't be like a huge needle mover in terms of revenue for Tesla. I think I did like research like last year. I think max I said that they would do like maybe 50,000 they would produce 50,000 of these per year. Like this is a class 8 truck, not like a huge amount of these are made per year.
Hmm.
So you sort of and I'm talking about worldwide numbers. So we're probably looking at I don't know, maybe 10 anywhere from like 10 to 20 billion dollars per year depending on the price, which is not a huge needle mover if Tesla's generating hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue every year.
For sure. Yeah. Which is still kind of crazy that we're talking about billions and
It
saying
could be
it's
a
kind
huge, and I know Mayor's like the biggest Tesla semi fan in our community. It could be a huge mover for like how the economy sort of works and big changes in that regard. That I
right.
think could be a good changer. Yeah,
But yeah, but you're just talking top line, no FSD, nothing like that. Yeah, totally
yeah,
agree.
yeah,
Um, by the way, on FSD, I know that you have tested FSD beta immensely here in the last little bit. I'd love to get your insights on FSD beta and where you kind of see the timeline for FSD at the moment.
yeah. So I probably have done maybe 1,800 miles total on FSD beta this year, and
Okay.
I did about 1,500 on 10.12. I've had 10.69, I think 0.2, 0.3, whatever it is, for a few days now, and it's a lot smoother. Like 10.12 was it was good, but 10.69 brings the smoothness to a whole new level. One of the biggest issues I had was that on residential roads, and I live in a relatively rural area. There's no lane markings, or it's not even just a gravel dirt road actually, and it's quite wide. So it would often the FSD beta system would often favor the middle of the road, if not the left of the road, versus staying on the right side like it should. And 10.12 was like horrible for that, but 10.6 kind of I've noticed has like completely solved that issue for me. So that's good to see. They're solving a lot of these little things. I notice a lot less hesitation when creeping out for visibility. That is. So just the overall smoothness is really good. It's still not perfect, of course, but it is still a beta. But the rapid iteration of progress I'm seeing is really promising.
Do you have it on chill mode, or do you have it on the super accelerator, or the
I
whatever the
usually
mode's
do
called?
standard mode.
Okay.
I find that when I'm doing aggressive mode, it often follows the car in front of me too closely, which I don't like, and I don't think they like. So I like to just leave it on sort of average standard mode.
Standard makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I only was in a beta once. It was a couple weeks ago. Subscriber to the channel invited me over. We didn't have a zero disengagement or anything like that, but it's just like little things, like you could feel the car thinking is kind of like the best way. That I wasn't behind the wheel. I was in the passenger seat, but it just felt like, it was like, even when it was turning right, I was like, should I go? No. Like, it was super cool to like see that at work, of it, trying to like figure out what was right.
When you drive for the first time in the driver's seat, it is like the craziest experience. Like, this car is, you're just thinking is like the perfect way to put it. It's like processing the road ahead of you, and the wheel is turning by itself. And it's, when you're in an airplane, obviously you have no control over the airplane, and people have gotten used to that. But you don't get as quickly used to it as in a car. Eventually we will, of course, and we'll trust it fully. But it's a pretty wild experience. It blows my mind that this technology exists even today after doing almost 2,000 miles.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've still got to remember, like, what beta came out. Was it October 2020? Is that right?
Yep. 2 years.
October. Yeah, so 2 years this month. I mean, the rate of change of improvement is massive. And even if it takes, like, this is what everyone talks about, like, even if it took another 3 years from us talking today, 5 years from us talking today, to really get to the point where, like, we're talking about robotaxis, that's still massive in the grand scheme of just economics. So it's like, we're talking, yes, Elon loves to say end of the year for beta wide release, which, by the way, are you on team yes or no on that?
I'm team yes on that for now.
So, and just to clarify, that's beta. So if anyone has the FSD package, they can subscribe to beta and then get it right away without having to go through safety scores, right?
Yeah, I think most people, at least Elon tweeted this out. So anybody that, you're supposed to drive 100 miles in autopilot first and get you get a safety score, and anybody over an 80 safety score, which anybody relatively competent should be able to do that. Anybody should be able to get that. And to me, that's almost like a mini wide release. If anybody over 80 can get it. So
yeah, I wonder how many people are under 80. Like, I'd reckon probably not a lot.
Even like the worst FSD beta drivers that have DM'd me, like, don't have an under 80. So
okay.
I don't know.
I don't know, man. You got to see how I drive. So end of the year. By the way, does that? And then I guess Matt, like I was Matt Smith talks about this a lot with the deferred revenue and potentially that getting unlocked. Does that, to your knowledge, any of that get unlocked with the beta wide release, or would that only get unlocked once FSD is technically off of beta?
No, it'll get unlocked when the beta is wide release. Every iteration, there's sort of if like more and more people that get it, 60,000 new people just got it, so that'll unlock some sort of deferred revenue. So there is something to be recognized there.
Okay. And I guess the subscription, like in Tesla, like continues to increase the price for FSD. It's at this point where it's like, okay, like, and I guess this is what Tesla wants people to look at that price, get sticker shock, be like, no, I'm just going to subscribe to the monthly thing on this. Because if they are close enough to getting to that level of like, okay, this is like inevitably in the next couple of years here going to be robotaxis, then why would you want people to buy the one-off package when you can have them subscribing to it for the life of the car, right?
Yeah, the $15,000 price is still at a price point where I would personally feel comfortable like purchasing it outright. But once you start to get like to 20 grand, I'm just like, it's probably just better to just do the monthly, even if it will fluctuate upwards. It is getting expensive though.
I'm waiting for the subscription up here in Canada, but I'm not sure if we're going to get it. By the way, someone in the comments is blasting us, saying that's a bunch of BS. I have a score of 77 as today. Sorry, no, No, no disrespect there. I mean, to be fair, I have no context on this because we have no safety scores. Oh, actually, I don't have a safety score for my car.
There are a
So
few instances where like beta will just completely hit you with, and like if it breaks too hard or something, it'll just tank your score. That's understandable.
right, yeah. Let's just caveat that. Alrighty, let's talk about so Q3, Q4. We don't have to get into the specifics like, okay, this is the margin or anything, but how do you kind of see like the 365,000 produced for quarter three? Where are you at with kind of quarter four at the moment? Are you bullish on the Reuters report of 495 for quarter four, which kind of seems like a stretch? Um, and if so, like, how do you see like the factories lining up with production to really achieve that kind of big push into quarter four?
To get the 50% growth for this year, Tesla is going to need about 495,000 deliveries this quarter, which I just don't think is going to happen. I could see mid 400s. I could see that,
Okay.
but most of that production is going to have to come from China. And if they don't lower the prices there, I think Chinese buyers are going to continue to push off their deliveries and just wait around. So they're going to have to export a lot of them. And so, we'll see how the ramp at Giga Texas, Giga Berlin is going to go. Giga Berlin, I think, is at 2,000 a week now, I believe, roughly.
Yeah.
And I don't know what Giga Texas is at. I can't remember what Troy Tesla said, but
less than that, right?
yeah, less than that. So I think, most of it's gonna have to come to China. I'm skeptical on that Reuters report. I don't know if that was like planted. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, those are weird.
It's like you're like setting the bar so high there at 495.
You're setting it up like the company to fail. You're setting it up to fail for those results. I don't know if they pull that off. Like, my God.
Yeah, that would be like even produce, forget about delivered. If you can produce that much in quarter four. Dave Lee talked to the investor relations at Tesla and they couldn't really give him specifics, but he was saying that, they basically said like, look, if Tesla continues to guide for 50% year over year growth, I mean, they would need like something like 480 in quarter four. Anyways, this report is really not that far off from where it would have to be. But I think the bigger story here is like, how is Tesla still about to hit 50% growth in a year where they had Shanghai shut for almost 2 months and then upgrades done, and then Giga Berlin and Giga Austin? I mean, not at the levels really that we were expecting to be at by now. But despite that, delivery unit growth still like I mean, not like a moonshot chance, but there's like I don't know, 20%, 15% chance that they still hit that 495. I'm not sure how high it is, but so crazy.
I think it just goes to like Tesla creating a product that just people love and are willing to shell out a lot of money for. Like, we haven't seen an example of a car company that can like average a roughly $1,000 average ASP and sell 1.5-2 million vehicles, which they might next year. So this is a little bit of unprecedented, and I think it's just people love the product and they're willing to shell out money for it.
And do you worry about the scalability for next year? Because Elon said, like, look, this year batteries are not the constraint for us. Like, we can hit our 50% yearly, 1.4 million just with the batteries that we have. It's chips. Now moving into 2023, that's really not going to be an issue. Chips, that is. But it's like, okay, all eyes are kind of on the 4680s, and do we get scale out of those? Are you at all worried or concerned about that next leg of Tesla's story? Because it is really dependent on like the next 5 years of Tesla's growth, isn't it?
Yeah, 4680s definitely is a worry for me as an investor, of course, being an all-in investor at that. It's super important for so many different product lines, the Semi, the Cybertruck. Of course, if Tesla wants to achieve certain margins and cost efficiencies, they want that to scale. I think Tesla will continue to expand on current locations with, Giga Texas becoming the main focus and largest production and output facility in the long run. Outpacing Giga Shanghai. Whether Tesla will announce an entirely new Gigafactory location, I don't know. But if they do, like, I think Canada is looking like a likely candidate based on sort of the reports that we've seen with the government and being in talks with them about certain things. We can't know exactly what they were talking about because they won't tell us. But, I think we'll be seeing an explosion of, in production capacity heading into next year and beyond. Next year, the Model Y should become the best-selling car in the world, but we really need to see those 4680s ramp up.
Yeah, and was it Drew Baglino that said they want to hit by the end of the year 1,000 packs a week? Is it? Was that the target?
1,000 packs a week. I would be surprised if they didn't hit that, or if they didn't hit like 1,000, 1,200 maybe. We'll see. I hope he's sandbagging there because even 1,000's, I think, lower than a lot of people expected.
Right. And I guess the semi announcement, like there was some debate on Twitter of like, okay, are these 4680s or are these 2170s, which technically both could work apparently. But do you think in the semi that's the 4680?
I think they're doing 2170s. That's just
Okay.
not based on any inside knowledge. That's just a guess.
Okay.
But I think they'll switch to 4680 like later down the line, though.
Makes sense.
I mean, they said they have more than enough battery cells for all their cars this year, and that's because of the 2170 production is just really good. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to make the semi right now because of the 2170s.
Makes sense. But let's talk about the new Gigafactory locations. Of course, it's up here in Canada. I'm excited for it, but I'm still a little bit cheesed. Like I think, like until it's like actually more official, I'm not going to get super excited on it because I don't. I've got insecurities like that. But it feels like it is going to be in Canada. The EV rebates moving into 2023, the $7,500 consumer tax credits should apply for cars or battery packs made up in here and imported into the States, right? Do you think, do you have a pick between the two, Quebec, Ontario? Have you heard anything between the two that makes you think lean on one more than the other?
I think Quebec's more likely, just because the talent around there, the infrastructure. I think that would be my guess. Yeah, I think Quebec.
Quebec makes sense, and I say this a lot, but the exchange rate is just so beneficial to tech companies to come up here. Like it's 30% off instantly. Salaries aren't that much different, absolutely speaking wise. So
the prospect that Tesla could potentially power you guys have great hydroelectric power up there, and it's just so cheap up there, electricity. So they could be interesting.
Yeah, the mix is pretty green up here. Like in BC here, it's like 99.5% hydro is our whole province. Yeah. And it's like, I think cost is about like, so don't quote me on this. It's like 8 or 9 cents per kilowatt hour Canadian, right? So
yeah, my friend from Quebec, he told me it was like 6.5 cents where he is.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Someone says, how about Giga Yashi? I'm all on board with that, but I'm not putting my hopes up there. But let's go back to the EV rebates. Everyone's talking about demand. It seems like, and aside from macro and Twitter, everyone kind of like the leftover bit there, in my opinion, with the weakness is like people questioning, okay, what is the long-term demand here for cars at this ASP for Tesla's long run? And of course, the discrepancy between supply and demand, even though it was fully explained by Martin Vieca, left some people questioning it and headlines coming out. How do you think the $7,500 tax credits moving into next year can help some of that? And do you expect Tesla to increase prices in accordance to that to keep their margins elevated, or do the opposite where, for example, the long range Model 3 was at like 57,000 US dollars. If they bring that down 2K, then all of a sudden it qualifies for the 7,500. Then all of a sudden consumers are like up 10,000 because Elon wants it to be affordable. Where are you kind of at with like balancing those two things?
I think before we even knew the IRA, Inflation Reduction Act, was going to be passed with this new EV tax credit, obviously I track breaking news all the time, and one of those things is the prices of Tesla's cars. And it seemed like every 2 to 3 weeks throughout the first half of this year, or even 3/4 almost of this year, we were seeing like every other week, every 3 weeks, a price increase of 1,000 to 2,000. Even one time, I think it was 3,000.
Yeah.
And then towards the middle of this year, macro conditions started to deteriorate, and we didn't see any more price increases. So to me, that was sort of an indication of we've reached the point where like people aren't willing to spend more than this, like $66,000 base for a Model Y. It's up, I think, roughly $16,000 since the beginning of 2021. Like that's a huge increase. So I don't expect Tesla to increase the price like by $7,500 on the Model Y. I think, they'll just let the customers get that. And they certainly don't need, like Tesla already has really good margins. I think a lot of customers would be upset if they did that. And in some cases, especially with the Model Y performance, it would actually price out that vehicle if you wanted to add like FSD to it. Although actually it might already, because it's already at 70 grand, but it puts it close to the mark. But I think people will sort of push off deliveries probably till the Q1 of next year if they can. So that'll be interesting to see actually, because with that orders report saying 495, let's see how many people push off orders.
Right.
And if they start to do that, will Tesla lower prices to sort of, encourage buyers to sort of take delivery this quarter? We'll see.
And to be fair, if Tesla were to lower prices tomorrow, I would not be concerned about demand because we got to remember where we were at. Like just like so for context, I got my Model 3 end of 2020, December 2020, and it was, and this is Canadian, so forgive me for this, but this is all I know. It was 52,500 Canadian dollars back then. We had the $8,000 rebate off of that after taxes,
Yep.
but now that car is at 63,000, 65,000 if you add in the black, and then it qualifies for no more rebate anymore. So like just, and obviously I selfishly love it, not really, but I selfishly love it because okay, it retains the value of my car. It's actually appreciated, which is like everything opposite of what Dave Ramsey taught me, right? It's like its car is an appreciating asset all of a sudden,
Yeah.
but and without FSD. But I hate it because now I talk to my friends and they're like, no, 70K, like 70K plus tax for a sedan. Like now, just, I'd rather buy XYZ car instead. So it sucks in that respect. And then on top of that, you're putting in a 6-month waiting period or a 3 to 4 month waiting period for certain models. It just like doesn't jive with a lot of consumers. Like I'll run into someone in the apartment that sees that I drive electric. They're like, okay, like where do you charge? I want to like I don't want to pay for gas anymore. But I can't even like in good faith be like, yeah, your family that wants to buy like a entry level sedan should buy a Model 3 right now because you're going to be waiting a long period of time. You're not going to get any you're not going to get any rebates off of this. And to be fair, it just doesn't make any sense. But at the same time, I look at the backlog and I'm like, this doesn't make sense to lower prices. And then I look at the EV rebates. I'm like, well, it doesn't qualify for this unless you lower prices. So it's like a sticky middle, but it's like the best, I guess, business proposition to be in if you're Tesla. Like whatever you do, you're going to make more money. So
yeah, like the cars are still products people love. It's just, it depends. Like it really depends what price people are willing to pay for them. Right. So I don't think like demand is just gone or deteriorated. Of course, we've seen the backlog come down, but that's because the prices stayed high, macro has deteriorated, interest rates are going up, and the stock price has gone down quite a bit. So that would be honestly expected. And Tesla wants the backlog to go down. They don't want like 6 to 12-month waits for their cars. That just upsets customers, causes a lot of confusion. For getting financing can be difficult that far out ahead in some cases. So there's a lot of guesswork. So they want to get that backlog down. And I think once Tesla starts lowering prices, which they will eventually, Elon wants to do that. He said so. We'll start to see a lot of demand come out of the woodworks and at certain price points as they go down. And aside from that, Tesla has so many different demand levers that they could pull if they felt like they weren't getting enough demand that they wanted, which I don't expect they would, but there's so many different things they could do to spur up demand. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like they could give free supercharging if you take delivery, which by the way, I think people overvalue like free supercharging for a year. Like it seems like we got it for a year and we're like, oh, this is massive. And then we actually ran the math. It was like $500 worth of electricity. It's not huge, but it really feels like, oh shit, I got like a whole year of free charging. Like this sounds sick.
This person asked the question, is Tesla demand recession proof in your view? I think Tesla is better positioned than most companies. I think Tesla's better positioned than every other non-hypercar, supercar car maker, and even some tech companies. I think, if you look at the cost savings, even though the cars have risen in price, the cost savings over lifetime ownership is quite appealing to a lot of people, even with higher interest rates and higher loan rates and all that. And people are willing to pay up for a product that, they seem to love, with incredible technology that can be somewhat future-proofed with software updates. And when you have something like FSD beta that, to me, no other mass automaker has on this scale, it's really enticing to people. So I'm not worried about demand.
And if Tesla was producing 10, 15, 20 million vehicles a year and it was at maturity and we were talking about the recession coming up, at that point of unit vehicles, even 5 or 10 million vehicles, right? We could be like, okay, recession, obvious pullback. The unique part of Tesla's timeline, in my opinion, with this coming up recession is that, like you said, there's just so much pent up demand still at these price points that if you look at and what's different about 2008 or what's different about this recession that we're going through versus 2008 and 2009 was that there were no EV options back then. So just the car industry as a whole is going to go down. I think we know that. But the difference is now there's going to be relative strength in the EV sector of the market, not just Tesla, but the EV sector, right? So people are going to be trying to displace their gas cars for electric cars. And it seems like even the most gas loving people are like coming to that conclusion. It's $2.40 a liter here in Canada, which is like absolutely, it's one of the highest rates of gas in North America at the moment. So it is nuts. But to answer your question, V, and thanks for the super chat, like nothing's recession proof in the auto business, but I think Tesla's going to handle it, like you say, Sawyer, a lot better than a lot of other automakers will. So,
yeah, and I was listening to a New York Times podcast yesterday, and they were talking about inflation and car demand. And one of the things they pointed out was there was such a flow of money during the pandemic and, these stimulus checks and stocks going crazy that rich people and wealthy people and even upper middle class people, they didn't spend much, but they saved up a lot of it. So they still have a lot of cash reserves left over. And so they might be able to sort of cushion Tesla a little bit. And if the times get really rough in the coming months, over the next 12 to 18 months, that is. So they could sort of buoy Tesla if there was any question about demand until we get through this, and then they can spur up demand with lower income people. But I think Tesla's fine.
Yeah. Our man Farzad in the chat, he says, if we do go into a recession, government will spur demand with new tech. EVs are new tech. Global demand for EVs, in my opinion, is still way higher than supply. Yeah. I think that's an underrated point. I mean, during recessions, like Airbnb, Uber, Facebook, maybe even there's just so much tech that comes out, and like the accelerant, and Kathy Wood talks about this a lot, like the accelerant of technological change during recessions is never higher, because a lot of people, like a lot of companies go under, people have backs against the walls, and for better or for worse, the society shifts. And I think this will actually be an accelerant, like you say, in towards more EVs.
And I'll add that, wealthy people that have these cash reserves are not so price sensitive or not so sensitive to the rising interest rates, because they mostly pay for cash with things. And that's sort of evidenced by the low leasing rate that we're seeing, I think, with Tesla's vehicles. So the rising interest rates, at least for car loans, doesn't really matter to them because they pay cash.
Yeah. And to be fair, with Tesla margins over 30%, give or take, for their auto business, like that's just a demand lever right there. If you ever wanted to, you can just chip away at that margin if you had to, if your back is against the wall, and guaranteed you'd get more demand up there.
And I think with improving cost structures and efficiency, they could still like bring down the price, but maintain that level of margin with 4680 savings if they can scale that properly, and other savings. You have the gigacasting savings, improve efficiencies in the factories themselves. So there's a lot of things they can do to maintain that margin, but bring down prices.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Let's go back to the stock price here for a second. 223.29 sitting on Tesla, down 6.23%. NASDAQ now almost down 4% on the day. VIX volatility index at $32 again. Just a crapshoot in the market. This is not Tesla related today, at least.
Tesla's down 30%, I think, just in the last 13 trading days, which is pretty incredible.
Actually,
the fact that we're below like the S&P inclusion price almost 2 years later is wild to me.
Actually, that's actually I didn't think about it like that. I was just thinking, is there another split in there that I missed?
So post split, we're at like 680 something, 60 something.
Tesla's down 21% in the last 6 trading days. 21%. So I guess quarter 3 earnings better be a monster one, right?
Yeah, I think if Elon does need to sell more Tesla stock after Q3 earnings, and he can't get enough private financing, equity financing, it's it is in his best interest to sort of prop up, talk highly of all the things that Tesla's doing, how well the quarter went, relatively speaking, and how well the coming quarters will go. I don't even know if he'll be on the call. He said he wasn't going to be on calls, but then he's been on calls.
No, I think if I had to guess, I think he's going to be on this call. Because whenever like, not the business, but whenever like the stock's not doing well, there's stuff to answer for, he said that he wants to be there. Like I think if we were at all-time highs or something and everything, the gravy train was rolling, let's say with the economy, he probably could skip out on it.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I mean, it's ugly. No matter what way you dice it here. By the way, like on the Twitter note, didn't Elon tweet? I can pull this up. I'm too lazy at the moment. I'm pretty sure Elon tweeted like in beginning of August. He said, I sold more shares to avoid emergency sale if the deal goes through and partners fall through. What's kind of changed? I just have been missing the boat here on the Twitter news. What's changed between that tweet and like today that makes everyone think that you
Yeah.
could
I mean,
sell
I
more?
asked him if he was done selling, and that's what he replied.
Yeah. Oh, that was you asking him. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not really clear. I don't know. I didn't know that there was like a few $1 billion shortfall. I don't know where that's come from. I would have to look into it deeper. I think Gary Black, I think, tweeted about it recently. But it'll be interesting to see how he makes that up if he does need that.
Yeah, he does follow it like a hawk area, so I guess you got to trust his judgment. So, it is what it is. Let's talk about X.com a little bit with the Twitter thing. So we talked about like, and Elon said like, yeah, I'm not sure if you remember these cryptic tweets. He's like, well, Tesla could be bigger than, Apple or was it Apple and whatever like combined one day or like, and then he deleted these tweets. Like it felt like, he kind of regretted tweeting it out.
Yeah.
How do you think X.com fits into that vision and Twitter fits in and Tesla and SpaceX, and do they all fit in, or is it like a separate thing that we're talking about here with that?
When Elon said that buying Twitter accelerates his X vision by 3 to 5 years, I wasn't quite sure what he meant by that. But after thinking about it, I think that he means by that, but he's acquiring the Twitter user base, the few hundred million users. And whatever vision that is, I think there is a lot of value in that user base, and he's willing to pay for it clearly. And, I think if he were to start from scratch at a whole nother company that sort of mimics Twitter or WeChat or whatever, it'd be really difficult to build a user base of a few hundred million followers. So with Twitter, he's already getting that. All the CEOs, all the politicians, all the celebrities, the brands, you name it, are already on Twitter. That's the sort of user base in that is already installed. And to have a lot of those accounts sort of switch over to his new venture, I think would be difficult. So I think Elon sees a lot of value in the user base, and we'll see what he does with the company. Of course, he wants it to be sort of a town square, a free speech town square, let people voice their opinions and whatnot. But it is a company at the end of the day, so we'll see how he makes money from that.
It sounds like it's kind of like a pseudo government almost. Like you have the payment processor, you have the free speech platform, you've got like your transportation. It's like a pseudo.
There's nothing like
brother.
WeChat. There's nothing like WeChat in the English speaking world in terms of an app.
No.
So for Elon to create that, I think would be quite valuable for all of us.
Have you used WeChat before? I haven't.
No, I've never used it. I know like some people have though. They love it.
I was at Save on Foods last week, a grocery store, and all of a sudden by the cashier it says we now accept WeChat, and it's like, what? I had no idea like that was even a thing here. Yeah, so it's making our way into society. So if you don't know, Sawyer, on about 15 minutes to close, we usually play our Tesla closing price guessing game on stream for Friday. It's Price is Right rules. By the way, everyone throw it in the chat. I see some people have already beat me to it. Throw your price in the chat. Remember, Price is Right rules. So you have to guess at or under to win. If you're over by even a penny, you lose. Throw it in the chat now. But guests always go first. So do you have a prediction for today?
I'm going to go 224.57.
224. 224. Okay, I'm going to throw yours in the chat first. I'll throw mine in now. I'm going to guess... I'm going to go 226.22. No. That's not going to happen.
We got 13 minutes.
That's not happening. I'm just going to go 224. Yeah. I've actually won this one time. People were really choked at me for winning that one time. So ever since then, I usually just guess on the whole number because like the chances are not great for it.
I hope people are doing all right out there with like if they have margins, just be careful. It's
absolutely. By the way, where are you at with the recession and worries about the Fed and it looks like the jobs report really doesn't give Fed any reason to lay off of the hikes, at least in the short term. Where do you kind of see this playing at in the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, I'm certainly no econ expert, but my relatively uneducated opinion, I think that the Fed unfortunately has a lot of past-looking data. It's not so much forward-looking or even the present so much. It's often weeks or months old, and I wish they had a system that was more forward-looking so they could input data along with the data they already get, which I think would represent sort of the current reality better. I've seen a lot, David Sachs and a lot of them, all in pod guys. They speak to this too. I think we're sort of going to see a double dip here with the market, and I'm hoping that we're going to hit bottom this quarter, That would be my prediction, my uneducated prediction.
Okay.
And I think we'll start to see a recovery. Yeah, maybe Q1, Q2 next year. We'll see.
Yeah. It seems like the pivot, or not even the pivot, but the pause is kind of what everyone's waiting for with the rate hikes. But it seems like they're just dead set on destruction in something before they're giving that. But man, we're talking deflation probably coming up in the next year, 18
Yeah,
months
I
here.
think there's a lot of cash on the sidelines, and I read an article. There's like a lot of SPAC money that like didn't go through or whatever that was becoming unlocked, so to speak, in the coming months, up to $100 billion. I don't know if that would go into the market,
Hmm.
and I think a lot of people that were on margin that would have brought the market down more now, were sort of already
Right.
hit out in like the June lows.
Hmm.
Um, so because at least the people I've been speaking to, a lot of people in the Tesla community that had margin got hit or got margin called in June. But
Hmm.
less so now in October, despite us being relatively near those lows from June.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
that's somewhat encouraging to hear.
Right. By the way, shout out to our boy Dylan at Electrified.
Yeah,
Yo,
bro.
what's up, fam? I just wanted to say hi. Hope y'all have a drink this weekend to celebrate the Tesla sale that may continue. Have a great weekend, Brody's. Got to go cut my grass. Appreciate that. Thank you, man. And trying to get you on as well for anyone that doesn't know. Probably quarter 4, Dylan's going to come on the channel too.
He's a
Hopefully.
great channel. He does a good recap of daily news, Tesla news.
Like our Tesla community is just like it, because people are like, oh, Rob already does it, but like everyone does it so different, and they add their own insights into it that make it so unique that you want to listen to everyone. And there's very, like no overlap in my opinion, because everyone has their own insights. It's
Yeah, I've
awesome.
contemplated many times even doing my own daily news. But I was worried about being called out as like a sellout or whatever. But I don't know. Maybe I'll do it one day too. But just put my own twist on it.
You
Um,
should like on YouTube, you mean? Or
yeah.
yeah, you should. I personally love going live. I think there's nothing like it, and you kind of like I guess you feel it right now. Like you just feel the energy of everyone, and kind of like have this like get together of all the minds, and you get so many different opinions. Like I'm always open to like pros, cons, bear, bull cases, whatever it might
Yeah.
be, because at the end of the day, we're just trying to get better, right? So
I think the Tesla retail community is unlike any other investor base in the world. There's no other stock that has this sort of following. This has a sort of knowledge base of all different aspects of the business. It's super unique. It's really rare, and has so much value. It's
yeah,
really incredible.
bears would say it's just group copium, and then bulls will say because we're trying to get better together. So take I guess whatever lens you look through the world, there's
You
there's
gotta love
always
Tesla Q, man. You gotta love them.
all right, 223.11 cent on Tesla here. Got 8 minutes left. What are you most looking forward to in the next couple of quarters here out of Tesla? Like personally speaking, at just like a sheer excitement level for you.
The product pipeline is just really exciting, just alone. I think new products from the energy standpoint. I think we're really looking forward to increase of Powerwall production. The Cybertruck's going to be next level. I still can't believe we're getting the Tesla Semi in like 7 weeks. That's wild to me. It's been 5 years for that, half a decade wait, but worth it, I think. And yeah, the pipeline is just really exciting, and I think we're going to see some next level earnings explosion next year, and margins are going to be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just FSD beta. I'm really excited to see how that progresses too.
Yeah, I guess out of all those things, FSD beta really is the one with the most potential
Oh yeah,
for long-term effect, right? Because and by the way, like I've said this before, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, as we see a lot of bots in the chat here. Thanks, bots. If so FSD, here's my prediction on FSD and the rollout. I think the way Tesla is going to go about this rollout eventually, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not this year, is partnering up with a city and publicly saying that we're going to do a case study with that city. So maybe like Miami or something, because that the mayor there loves Bitcoin and all this sort of stuff. Maybe Las Vegas makes more sense, but partnering up publicly and saying like, look, this is how we're going to establish the robotaxi network. This is how we want it in other municipalities, and this is the net effect in crashes saved, lives saved, and economic benefit had, and kind of run with it that way. So I kind of look at, okay, at any time if robotaxi is going to come out, probably going to hear about this announcement, let's say 6 to 12 months before that happens. That's my prediction on how this rolls out, because I think a lot of people think they're going to wake up one day, there's going to be a new update, and it's done, level 5. Like that's all it goes.
yeah.
Curious to get your take on my theory there.
That's really interesting because one of the biggest worries for me with Robotaxi Network was regulatory hurdles. So yeah, if they were to be able to do a case study that could sort of showcase, hey, look how safe it is. It works in the real world on a mass scale. People
Mhm.
love it. It is safe. Then I think they would be way more likely to sort of approve that. That's interesting. And I think
Mhm.
I would like it. I don't know if Tesla wants to do this already, but I would love if they were to like publish some sort of safety data with the beta, or just more safety data with autopilot in general. Just sort of show people like, look how incredible this technology is. They do a safety report, which is helpful, but not many people like want to read like a multi-dozen long page safety report, except us nerds, of course.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's actually a really interesting idea. I like it.
Yeah. And I guess maybe even before that, we probably see in Las Vegas driverless in the tunnel happen, maybe,
Yeah.
right?
Las Vegas would be a good candidate because they seem to have a really good relationship with Warren Company and Elon Musk companies already.
For
So
sure.
yeah,
Yeah. And it like underground in that tunnel where there's really nothing happening except Tesla cars going back and forth. I feel like that's probably just a layup for Tesla to start
yeah,
running
oh
something,
yeah,
right? Right.
for sure.
By the way, if anyone has any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. Thank you for the super chat, Tesla hype. Thanks for your insights, Yash and Sawyer. Exciting times ahead. Hashtag Juju gang. Appreciate that. No Juju with me today, Sawyer. By the way, if you don't know, Juju is any sort of citrus, and I don't have any with me today, so that's probably why we're down 6.5%.
I got some citrus grapefruit chapstick if that
Oh,
counts.
there you go. Hey, Sawyer came more prepared than I did. Any questions? Feel free to throw them in the chat here. We got 5 minutes left here till close. 222.70 or 222.80 sitting on Tesla at the moment. Boyle saying Vegas makes more sense because the people there, one can assume, are more risk tolerant.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's a good
Uh,
point. That's funny.
yeah, awesome. Let's see what else we got here. Any comments in the chat that you see that you want to hit on? Do you feel like, or no, we already hit this one. Hold on, let's see.
No, I didn't even click on the comment section the whole time. I
Oh,
didn't even know it was there.
there you go. Oh, Farzad's asking you, what's Sawyer's favorite sport?
Oh, basketball, NBA, definitely.
Who's your team? Boston, I bet.
Yep, Celtics. Yep,
That's a shame.
that's where I'm from.
That's a shame. Are you a Bruins fan too then, or?
Yeah, I'm less of a hockey fan, but yeah, Bruins are my team. Every Boston team is my team.
I don't know if we can have you back on the channel. Blueberries are not Juju. Yes, indeed. Quarter four production delivery prediction. Bill, we covered this maybe like 15 minutes or so ago. Let's see what else we got here. Matthias has sent a chart. I'll try to pull it up here, Matthias, in a second. Any comments that you see that you want to hit on? Oh yeah, definitely plug Twin Birch, your clothing
Oh yeah,
company.
I have my twin and I we created a while ago. We had some many hiccups along the way, but we've been in production the last few weeks. So we created a sustainable clothing company called Twin Birch. You can go to twinbirch.com and sort of sign up for our email list. We promise we won't spam you. But yeah, we're just going to create comfortable clothing to start, sweatshirts, t-shirts, shorts, women's beach pants even. And it's going to be 45% organic cotton, 55% hemp blend just to start. And it's going to be dyed with vegetable dye. It'll all be made in the US as well. And yeah, we're really excited. I think, we want to sort of reduce the consumption of fast fashion where like new styles come out every day. So we want to create long-term durable clothing that people love and that's better for the environment. So that's our goal.
Awesome. Yeah, we were talking about the hemp stuff before. It's not easy, clothing production or any sort of textile production with hemp. It's just not easy, and you were doing it locally in made in USA, so that's even harder.
Yeah.
Richard's asking, what are your thoughts on Polestar, Sawyer?
I like Polestar. I actually wanted a Volvo many years ago, but I didn't end up getting it. But I like Polestar. I think it was smart for them to sort of branch out into the Polestar brand rather than the Volvo brand, because I think the Volvo brand was more viewed as like a family brand. So Polestar to me is like a more futuristic sounding thing. But I think their products are good. It's a good alternative if you don't want a Tesla, which would shock me if you didn't want a Tesla. But I guess some people
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the brand.
I'm seeing a lot of Polestars here actually locally. Surprisingly so. Like I'm like I'll see probably one every other day now, which is like a lot to me. And they're actually like really decent looking cars. I mean, they're like, I think the holding company is just technically a Chinese company with Volvo.
Yeah,
and
Geely, yeah.
Right. So, there is that with investment related stuff, but I guess they're doing good stuff. I think they want to produce like 50,000 a year is like their goal.
Yeah, like actually just today, I think they confirmed they are gonna produce 50,000 this year. So that's good.
I mean, any sort of EV production that we can get in the world is good in the interim, right?
More EVs the better.
More EVs are better. And it's funny because I'm not sure if you know, like, so we got a Nissan Leaf prior, and then we looked into the Bolt, and then we're like, it doesn't make sense to get anything other than a Tesla for our next car. And the more EVs that are sold worldwide, non-Tesla related, eventually a segment of those users will go to Teslas eventually. So
Yeah, totally.
yeah. Um, let's look at the options, says Jason. Jason, how's it going? Let's actually pull that up. So 223.24 options for next week are, let's see here. And at the money call is, well, let's say that's 222.50. I hate these weird odd strikes that we have now, but it's about 850. Yeah, it's just the worst. And I guess we're gonna have to deal with it for the next couple of years. But 850 is an at the money call. There we go. We just closed here, and at the money puts $8. So a little bit put bias, but I think out the monies are really cheap. Someone was saying on our Discord that they're actually really cheap, but cheap is relative, of course. 223.07. That's our closing price for the day. And what was your guess? Actually, what was your guess again?
222.57.
Yeah, I think we were too bullish. Actually, I think our winner might be Richard Hoffman. Guessed it on the dot, I want to say.
Nice.
Here we go. That doesn't happen. That's the second time ever that's happened. If Hadouken wants to, Hadouken's one of our mods here that goes through everything really fast. But I think that's our winner, Richard. That might be our winner. And actually, Nicholas pulled it up here. I appreciate you coming on. It was not a fun week. For a recap, we'll just do one because we got to do recaps on good and bad weeks. Started the week at 255, ending the week at lows of the week at 223.07. The NASDAQ also actually on the week just finishing kind of like a nothing burger, just finishing flattish on the week. And for context, if anyone cares, like stock like Apple finishing green on the week somehow, which doesn't really make much sense. But
Apple's typically a really resilient stock. It just is.
Yeah. And they had a really bad drawdown the other week. So I appreciate you coming on though, Sawyer. It was great chatting with you. It's great getting to know behind the scenes as to what's happening in your life when you're posting all this stuff, because I gotta say, on behalf of the Tesla community, we really appreciate your work.
I thank you. It's definitely a full-time job that I mostly do for free for the last 2.5 years, but it's a lot of fun doing it. So it's funny when I got the S&P, I have a phone holder in my shower. This is probably TMI, but I have a phone holder in my shower so I can listen to podcasts in the shower. And I saw the notification that the S&P was upgraded. So I raced out of my shower, soaking my floor in the process. And so I could get this update out. I pre-wrote my tweet 4 weeks ago for this update.
Smart. That's smart.
I was ready to
go. That's smart. Hey, that's actually a really good idea. You just draft up anything and everything, and just in case it pops up,
you do it all the time.
That's so smart. That's so. I swear, I thought you had a team. I was like, this guy's got to have a team behind him or something.
Just me.
Yeah. Go Sport Sawyer. Link for his Twitter is in the description. You can also super follow him if you want. And then YouTube, go check out his videos there. I think he's monetized there. So if you want to watch through some ads or whatever, you can. Congrats to Richard for winning the virtual Juju. I'll throw some at you here after hours and through the camera. And Sawyer, thank you again for tuning on. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care, everyone. Peace. Oh, I got to say, happy Friday. So throw away all your technology this weekend. Put it away. Your portfolio is not going to change. Go for a walk, spend some time with family, walk the dog, do whatever you want.
Get out in nature, smell the trees.
Do what Sawyer is doing. Look behind him, how beautiful it looks back there. So spend some time outside. All right. Much love, everyone. Take care. Peace. Awesome, man. That was great.